there's three real major different types of heat therapies. There's what is called traditional. Let's talk about them first. That's the most studied. So the kind of rocks that get heated up either by a wood burning fire like they do traditionally, or it can be done electrically where you get it really hot, usually about 180 degrees or more. It's usually very dry, so very low humidity.
Which makes you can withstand those
exactly. It's easier to withstand. You can always add a little water. That's very, it kind of adds a little bit of vapor, but not really steam per se. That's the traditional side. Then there is the infrared, which is a newer type, which adds a particular nanometer of heat that is then kind of pointed towards the body. And it's more of a surface-based heat that is transmitted, and that is shown to be also very helpful. It's a much lower temperature.
You're not able to get to those high temperatures like with the dry saunas.
You would scald the skin with that. So it's about 140 degrees. It takes a bit longer to be in it, but it's been shown to be a gradual thing and very beneficial, including studies that have shown benefits in heart failure and other things. So there's a lot of excitement about it. And because it's not as high of a heat, a lot of people get them in their homes. They're in a lot of gyms. They're kind of easy to modulate. And I think there's going to be a lot more to be said about that. But the studies are...
There was a Japanese study with heart failure patients that were using infrared.
Yes.
And so that was...
Yes. Very, very exciting. Also triggering things like the heat shock proteins and things that we've been able to objectify, which we'll get into at another time. And then there is the third type, which is kind of hot water immersion. Hot water immersion is the most aggressive. People think it isn't. When I'm taking a hot bath, doesn't sound aggressive, but actually because you're not sweating, the core temperature increases higher than the other two in the amount of time because you're not allowing the release of evaporation.
Yes.
So if you get to about 104, 105 degrees in your bathtub and you stay in there up to your neck, you actually get a higher core temperature, about 1.5 degrees, if I remember correctly, higher. And therefore, it can maybe elicit some of the heat shock proteins and other things, maybe even better. But
that's all we're trying to get to is just to increase core temperature by 1 to 2 degrees.
Right. So
it doesn't sound like a lot.
Doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot, as we know. And so those are the three majors. Now, one could talk about steam therapy as another one, a little more difficult to talk about because you can't get the numbers as high. You also there's some respiratory concerns and there were questions, maybe even benefits, but I put them in a category. It's just, I wouldn't put them in the top three right now.
Yes.
Mainly because it's harder to study too.
Yeah. And it's harder. I think it's harder to withstand, like to be in a steam room for longer periods.
But I do think it's beneficial, and I'm giving them I'm giving them a nod as well. And then there's like localized heat therapy that, people can do with, wraps and things like that. Again, I'm leaving those two for later discussion. The major three are the ones I've talked about because they're the most studied and most specific. Those other two are important, and we'll talk about them also periodically. But those are the three modalities that people can use. Now, obviously, there's also the general modality, which is like living and working in South Florida, for instance, or in very high heat environments, which seem to be everywhere now. Like we are not, it used to be South Florida so hot and humid. Talk to me in August in New York these days, or in Minnesota, where there was like, people are seeing heat like they've never had before. So
that's where my son is right now, upstate New York, and he works outside, and he's like, that's pretty hot.
Pretty hot. A lot of benefits that can come with that, but it's got to be with the right way, and that's what we are doing with this whole heat health ecosystem, which you and I are working on, which is getting people the idea of like, well, what has been your heat dose, and what does that mean, and what does it mean for your health? What does it mean for your safety? So that's going to be the crux of what a lot of these heat health segments are going to be about, and I know it's going to be a lot of them because you and I are really into it, and it hits those things that are important to us. So do no harm. So we're not introducing something the body hasn't seen, like maybe some novel peptide no one's researched. I'm not talking about someone has researched. There are plenty of peptides that are very, very useful. You and I are big proponents of those, but it is something that's very natural. It's something that we really have to harness all of the information around so we can give people the best ideas to talk to their individual practitioners about and get correct. We in our own practices want to be able to tell people how to do it, when to do it. So this is the inception of a podcast that's going to deliver a lot of those to folks. And we're going to have great guests.
Yes.
We've got some exciting people that have reached out that have developed new products around it and new modalities. And we hope to be able to give something that is not only practical, but pleasurable